How about them Irish?
I can't take it anymore. I need a national championship.
This is the Four Horsemen Podcast.
The Notre Dame Fighting Irish lost to the Northern Illinois Huskies, whatever they are. That was one of the worst losses I've ever seen. And in order to fully capture the emotion of the fan base, we've invited Tim Flynn onto our show today to give a good rant about Riley Leonard and this football team. But before we get to that, Steve is nearly dead. You listen to our entrance of the podcast every week, and you can always hear Steve saying if he doesn't win a national championship soon, he's going to kill himself. And he's at the point where he might not be watching the games live anymore. So, Steve, I'm going to turn this to you so you can get what's off your chest, and then we'll get on with the show.
Thank you. I'm done. I'm not doing this to myself anymore. It's a played out trope, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Every fucking Saturday for 20 fucking years, I have sat down in front of my television at 3:30 p.m., turning on NBC, expecting just.
He ranted so hard, he got kicked out of the call. Oh, here he comes. I'm not editing any of this. That was hilarious, Steve. Wi-Fi connections.
That's fine. I'll take myself off video. I've been fucking expecting. Just a different fucking result. Just a team that can just put it the fuck together. And we are 8 fucking days away from going to College Station with an unbelievable defense, top 5 defense in college football. And we go ahead and we come out with a win. Riley Leonard actually looked decent in College Station, but that's all we needed him to do is just be competent and decent. He did it. And then you're at home. It's a layup. There's not a single defender defending you. You have the ball at the fucking goal line. Just lay it up into the fucking net. Can't do it. Can't figure it out. It was absolute gross incompetence. And I got to tell this is my final season of giving Marcus Freeman any sort of leeway. This is it. He gets my defense from me one last time. He hasn't this season because the circumstances in the situation that Freeman found himself with Notre Dame, Notre fucking Dame, that invented the forward pass, and we do not have a competent quarterback. I will repeat that. We invented throwing the football. Can't fucking do it. Can't find a fucking quarterback in years that could possibly figure it out. Or when we do, it's Jack Cohn who has concrete blocks stapled to his fucking feet. Same with Sam Hartman. And they both played really damn well, but it just was never good enough. It's just never fucking good enough with this program. I can't stand it anymore. So I'm not subjecting myself to it. Every Saturday, I'm making a tea time, 3:30 p.m. on the dot, going to my local fucking country club, and I swear to God, I'm playing fucking golf. I'm all set with this. I'm not watching the games live. I can't do this to myself. I can't do this to my family. I have a daughter now. Do you have any idea what this does to me as a person, as a father, as someone who's supposed to lead his fucking family? It drives me fucking insane and turns me into this disgusting human being, just screaming and throwing things in my house because we can't beat a fucking MAC team in week 2. After one of the biggest wins in school history, we absolutely shit our pants and lay an egg because Brian Kelly, that cocksucker motherfucker, he couldn't be bothered. He couldn't be fucking bothered for 5 consecutive fucking seasons to get a single competent fucking quarterback recruit. So we have to rely on the stupid fucking transfer portal. Oh my God, I hate the transfer portal. I could go off on it for hours. We just need a good quarterback. And we actually have decent quarterbacks on the roster. The problem is they're just too early on into their development to be stepping into this year. Dylan, how many times have we talked about this year being the year 2024? Being the fucking year. This defense is phenomenal. And they didn't look great towards the end of the game, but guess what? It's because they were on the field for 35 minutes because our offense had no time of possession. They were constantly on their heels. They were gassed. That's why they're getting gashed for 190 rushing yards against. It's easy to make a stat look like that, but NIU was averaging 3 yards a carry? They were just out there running the ball down our throats nonstop because we were just 3-and-out kings. That 2nd and 1 deep ball interception, that almost sent me off the top of the Charles Ravenel fucking bridge here in Charleston, South Carolina. You almost saw a suicide on the fucking news because that was absolutely fucking insane. He has 2 guys underneath to check it down. I understand taking a deep shot. You don't do it in fucking cover 2 coverage when there's 2 safeties over the middle of the field. You do it down a fucking sideline if you are going to take a deep shot. If not, I mean, it's just 2nd and 1. You're up by a point. You can close the game out. You're a great running offense. You have unbelievable running backs. You have a good offensive line. Just run the fucking ball. It's 2nd and 1. Just run the fucking ball, pick up the first down, move the chains, choke them out, win by 8 points, and then just be like, hey, you know what? We shit down our leg. We didn't play that well, but we're 2-0. We move on. Couldn't fucking do it. Riley Leonard has the eyesight of a fucking pirate with like a patch over his eye. It just makes no goddamn fucking sense. I can't to myself and my family anymore. I would love to podcast. No, I wouldn't love to podcast for the next hour. I'm gonna let you guys take it because I'm sick to my fucking stomach, and I need to go and I need to just take a step away. And I'll be back next week. I'm gonna watch everything after. I'm not watching it live. I'll watch the replay after I get home from golf. God forbid it's a loss. That'll be absolutely catastrophic. But I'm calling it now. We're going to lose 21-17 on the road at Purdue. That's just absolutely fucking happening because that's a catastrophe. But, oh my fucking God. I'm not doing it. I can't do this anymore. I give up. We will never win a national championship. I am a broken and I am a defeated man. Tim, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Well, before you go,
yeah.
about your tea time, would you rather join us on the driving range we'll be tailgating at in West Lafayette on Saturday at 3:30 because we lost the nighttime game?
That's perfect. It's just absolutely perfect. So that's it. I'm just taking a step away, and I have more important things in my life at this point than Notre Dame fucking football. I'm gonna let you two rip the living shit out of Riley Leonard in this absolutely piss poor offense going forward. But I'm done. I'm done. Thank you very much, guys. You have a good one.
Talk to you later, Steve.
I think for the first time in the history of the show, Steve has picked against Notre Dame to win. I think because in the Alabama game, he was neutral. So I think that's the first time he's picking Notre Dame to lose. This podcast is going to have more swear words than a Martin Scorsese film. And that's why I've decided to bring Tim on. Many of you guys know Tim on Twitter at Tim3773. He's known for the classic hits such as 0-1. And then, of course, the sequel 0-2. Tim's funny. Tim also has been riding us on Riley Leonard all summer. So, Tim, I'm gonna let you take over. And, I mean, I don't know how you follow that up, but I'm sure you will somehow.
I'd also like to point out that Jude from the 1 Foot Down podcast calls me the voice of reason one time. I actually have that soundbite somewhere, but
voice of reason.
Oh no, it's right here. I'm gonna play it right now. Hope don't sue me. Don't sue this podcast. I'm not really a part of it.
Tim Flynn, voice of reason.
Not sure if that came through or not, but
that came through perfectly.
Oh man, everything Steve said was what I've been dreading for the last 9 months, man. Like I could see it. I don't know why no one else could see it. The film on Riley Leonard last year was so limited because Howard Cross ripped his feet off of his body, and no one thought that 17 surgeries and no practice would be a good idea to just throw him into the wolves. Like even if he did get practice, I I don't know if you could fix what we just saw on Saturday. You could give him a whole year of just throwing camp. He would still have a T-Rex style throwing motion. His little arm goes a little half step forward and underthrows everything, or it's way left or way right. But he can run, and that's why we got him, because he can run. It's absolutely mind-blowing. I was up until 5:30 in the morning last night because I didn't want to get drunk on a work night, but that was the only way I fell asleep Saturday night, because every time I closed my eyes, I saw Riley Leonard's little T-Rex throwing motion, throwing that pick over the middle that just cemented him as the worst quarterback I have ever seen on the field in a Notre Dame uniform. That was like when you're playing 500 as a kid and you're like the 3-year-old and you're playing with all the teenagers and you can't throw it 10 feet. That's what he is. Like, he has to run over to them and drill a ball, they toss it to him gently, and then it's still not an accurate throw from a foot away. This guy is beyond garbage. It's like beyond meat. It's beyond garbage. It's unbelievable. And I've been screaming.
Does this remind you of a certain game? Because Tim, I know you got a good memory for Notre Dame football, but it reminded me of the 2018 season where we start off with Michigan and we come up with a huge win. Kind of, obviously the rivalry game, but Michigan was highly ranked. And then the next game, I think we play like Vanderbilt or Ball State or someone that's just putrid. And Brandon Wimbush looks like maybe the worst quarterback in history in that game. And it kind of leads to the Ian Book quarterback change. So I'm wondering, I'm sure we're going to get into this in detail. Do we make a quarterback change? Do you think Marcus Freeman will do it? Do you think he can do it? Well, is it time for it?
I wrote down some free podcast notes here, and that's the first one is there is silver lining to this absolute dumpster fire we just watched on Saturday, and that is that Riley Leonard got exposed as the fraud he is now instead of later. So we're game 2 in. I mean, I saw game 1 against Texas. He was not good against Texas. He ran the ball a lot. He did not make many throws. He almost threw a pick 6 to cost us the game. And then we would be having a totally different conversation this week and all last week. But everyone wanted to say we don't win that game without him. We sure do. We win by a lot more. We blow them out of the water. That's why I was screaming at some guys on Twitter like, I don't understand how you don't think we could have. We had the worst guy at quarterback on the roster. He's not even the worst. He's the 4th worst quarterback in the quarterback room, but he's the 7th worst quarterback on the roster. Tyler Buckner's a better quarterback than this guy. Mitchell Evans is a better quarterback than this guy. Ron Powlus, if he's still on the scouting squad, is a better quarterback than this guy. It's our punter's probably a better quarterback than this guy. Like, it's crazy that he is our go-to solution for $1.2 million up front, and no one else saw it coming. And that's what makes me the most mad is I am not an expert. I don't get paid for this. I pay a lot to watch this kind of crap, and I can see it, but you can't. Like, no one on that coaching staff, not Gino, not Denbrock, none of the beat writers. It was just me and a few, and I wasn't even a hater. I was much more of a doubter. Let me start that one off. I was like, I'm going to give him a chance because everyone else is giving him a chance, but I really don't think he's going to be good. And sure as shit, he was not good. But the good news is, silver lining, we lost now. So now, I don't know if you saw Marcus Freeman's press conference earlier today, but it sounds like, due to the depth chart in the comments, that he's going to start Riley Leonard on purpose, I think, which isn't good at Purdue. So we're already going to start off that game down like 7-10-0, because I'm sure he's good for another turnover or two. That makes no sense right to start the game. And I wonder how much more bad he has to do before he finally gets yanked. It's way overdue. It was overdue last week, but like Marcus said in the presser today, they had never thought once about starting Angeli or put him in that game at all. And that's where I put a lot of blame on Freeman, because that's something you got to be ready for at any time. If your guy comes off the field like that, like just absolutely lost, can't see open guys, can't hit them when they're open. He couldn't see water if he was in the boat in the middle of the ocean, and he'd still miss water if he fell out of that same boat. It was so bad. And everyone on the internet saw it. Everyone in the stand saw it. Everyone in the press box saw it. The only people that didn't see it are the ones that are running this damn football team. And it's like Brian Kelly throwing the ball on a repeat in a hurricane, just doing the same stupid thing when everyone's telling you it's stupid. Do something different. So that's where I'm at. At least we got Riley Leonard, exposed him early, so we don't get blown out against Florida State or USC later on because he kept winning games somehow, or blown out in New Year's Six Bowl again, God forbid, or a playoff game with Riley Leonard at quarterback, because that would suck. That would absolutely suck.
Do you think maybe the injury and catching up to game speed is still a factor, and that maybe he will get better as the season goes along? Is that something that you can see happening? Because I think that's what the coaching staff is hoping happens.
He can't get worse. So it's a very low bar. It's so low he should be hitting his head on it when he tries to run by it because he can't throw to it. It's not that he can't do it. It's that I don't think he's physically capable of doing it. Like his throwing motion, I'm not one to criticize throwing motion because I love Tim Tebow, right? And everyone crapped on his throwing motion, but this is just as soon as he's winding up, I hold my breath every time. Even the one he actually threw a pretty good ball in the corner right before he threw the inexplicable bullshit he threw down the middle to end the game. He threw one that was actually pretty good, back shoulder throw, tight coverage, but I thought for sure that was a pick six going the other way because it was not a good decision. That's the other thing. He can't read blitzes. Guys checking into blitzes. He's checking runners into the blitz, and they're not getting by it because that's what the blitz does. They're running it into the gap where you got the linebacker coming in at 100 miles an hour ready to kill you, and then if he's not there, he'll hold it. Actually, that's one thing he did better this week. He held the ball on options more than he did against A&M because he didn't do it. I think he did it maybe once at A&M, and that was another 3 touchdowns we could have had if he just held it a couple times. But it's just mind-boggling how he can't read the coverage. He can't tell if it's man or zone. He can't tell where the blitz is coming from. He can't tell whether he should keep it or hand it off. And it's just like, I don't know if he's flipping a coin to decide what he's doing half the time. I don't know what they saw in practice that made him the anointed starting quarterback. Well, actually, they didn't see it in practice because they didn't see him at all in practice till the summer. So to anoint him the starting quarterback after you had Angeli go out there with the first teamers all spring, is Angeli bad? Is Angeli worse than Leonard? I granted it was against third stringers, whatever. There's still D1 athletes with scholarships in that bowl game. And he lit them up. And he did a good job. He's done everything we've asked him to. So why are we putting Drew Pine 2.0 in over him? Like, it makes no sense.
Well, I think a lot of NIL money is why they anointed him the quarterback. Is Angeli the guy you go to? Or... because I'm almost of the opinion we go to Carr, because he looked the best in the preseason and in the spring game, and then just him being the future of the team. I almost wonder if you just bite the bullet now and go with him, or if you do give Angeli the shot, because like you said, he's done everything we've asked of him.
I don't want to ruin Carr right now. He's like you said, he's the future, so you don't want to throw him in right now. He's seen 2 games at this speed. He's been playing high school ball. Would you throw in a high school quarterback right behind this offensive line with the confusion that they've been practicing with the last 4 weeks? Those receivers are going to have to remember, like, oh, yeah, I can run my route normally now because I got a guy that can throw it to me. It's going to take a second once we even get a good guy back there for everyone around him to adjust. So I wouldn't go with a freshman right off the bat. No, I would wait till at least game 6, let him develop a little bit. And that's desperate. I don't want to start Carr unless we're desperate. Because you also have Minchie right there. And Minchie's more than capable of leading this team to a win. Any one of our quarterbacks could win out this season except the one we're starting with. And I firmly believe that. Angeli has shown me nothing to the contrary. He's made a few mistakes, but he's made less mistakes in his entire career than Riley Leonard made in that one last game. Even the one against A&M where he took us to the win. I don't know why no one else was seeing those besides me. Maybe I was just nitpicky because I was always doubting the guy, but.
Well, I mean, you were onto something, right? Because last week had to be, to me, it's the second interception that just makes it one of the worst quarterback performances I've seen. I think it's the worst interception I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know, is that an exaggeration or do you
No.
kind of agree with that?
No, because I slightly disagree with Steve's take on this throwing that deep ball. I don't think that was the wrong decision. Like you said, it was cover 2, post right down the middle. He had him burned by 5 steps at least, and he underthrew him by 15. So in that situation, as a quarterback, the one thing you can't do is underthrow that. You gotta overthrow it, if anything. And he did the opposite in a way I've never seen before. It was like, I wonder if he
was really short.
Yeah, like a little female tennis player grunt, like, when he threw that, because it was so awful.
Yeah, well, another thing with that, though, is if you go back and look the play, you've got Bo Collins who's open, and there's a defender in the area, but you can make the throw to Bo for first down.
Oh, yeah.
You have somebody's coming over the middle. I don't really see the full number when I'm looking back at the replay, but you have a crossing route where 2 guys are behind the receiver, so you can hit him straight on for a first down. And then, of course, you have Jaden Greathouse, who is like nobody's 15 yards in the vicinity, and he's running free down the middle. And if you hit him, he probably gets to the end zone easier than Chris Mitchell would have.
Yeah.
And the game is over. And, I don't hate throwing it deep on 2nd and 1, but you got to make the right decision, and you got to make the right throw. And I'm okay overthrowing it because it's 3rd and 1, and you can punch it up for a first down. So everything about the execution there was disgusting to me. And I put more of that blame on Leonard than I do Denbrock, although I don't want to give Denbrock a pass because we got away from the run game. And I'm not usually someone who's banging on the table for the run game, but when your quarterback is struggling and you need some yards, you got some good choices there. And the offensive line, I thought, played okay. I thought they were decent against Northern Illinois, as they should be. It's Northern Illinois. But for some reason, that was the best unit on offense. I don't know. Tim, talk me out of stepping off the ledge.
I have strong faith in our O-line. It was NIU. I liked some of the old O-line at NIU. There was one guy in this team that I really liked, mainly because of his last name. It was Bus, and I was like, yeah, he busting out there. But our O-line, I think they did phenomenal. They picked up, I think it was a 6-man rush with 5 blockers. And Leonard just sat there and held onto the ball and took a sack, which is another thing. Like everyone that was saying he didn't take a sack last week, that's great. I'm like, who cares if you can't? I'd rather have you get rid of the ball and throw a complete pass and get to that point where you have to run away. Like that, there were guys open all day, and it was just so frustrating. But our receivers on that one you're talking about, I think he had a shadow of doubt in his head because that near pick 6 he almost threw against A&M. That was kind of the same situation. It was like a short curl route that would have got the first down, and the defender was far enough behind him he could have made the throw easily. But I think he was afraid of throwing it because he knows he sucks and he couldn't hit that throw accurately. And if he does miss that throw high, left, or right, it is going back the other way. So he decided to throw an interception deeper downfield so that way they couldn't take it back the other way. They slowly milked us to death.
Also, can I jump in for a second here? He underthrew it so poorly that they were able to return it at like the 15 and bring it to the 50. That's what killed the game. If he throws it and it gets picked off at the 10-yard line, I'm not sure that NIU can march down the field and win that game. I'm not sure if you give them with the time constraints and with a full field, even that went against us. It's like every little thing on that play went wrong. And just given the game situation, man, like just fucking win the game. Just why are we even in this spot? Like Steve said, yeah, you close it out and then you say that sucked. We didn't play well enough, but you move on going 2-0. Now we can't. We're a national embarrassment again, right? It's Marshall all over again. And I don't know how we go from here.
This is worse than Marshall.
Because Buckner got hurt in that Marshall game, and it was Freeman's first year. Now it's his 3rd year. We got to pivot into that too, Tim.
I want to say I don't know which game was worse and I'm beyond bewildered that no one has slapped me in the face with this yet because it's right there. So I'm gonna beat them to it. Why has not one Michigan fan said, "Oh, look, you're the new App State. We just lost to the new App State," because that's what it feels like. Like it's a game that you had no business losing. It was a cupcake school, and you just got embarrassed at home. And no one's not one Michigan fan. I think they're still reeling in their loss to the Steers, but any Michigan fans listening, I think you got one or two. There you go. There's your free ammo.
Man, it's not even like the games started off poorly as an excuse, right? You score a touchdown on the opening drive, and then you down the ball at the 2-yard line on the kickoff. It's like,
oh my,
that game
God.
should have been over in the first quarter. Like, how did
I forgot about that? Was the
happen?
greatest kickoff I've ever seen in my life. I was like, this is awesome. I think you said something like, one of you guys said, "Don't be worried," and I tweeted out. In my heart of hearts, I texted you before the game. I was like, I don't like this game at all. I got a bad vibe about this. But
that's how I knew you had to be on this week, because you gave me the heads up that this was going to go down.
Yeah, I actually had someone asked me for a score prediction, and I said NIU wins 2-0. And I got the score difference right. They won by 2. But this game could have been 2-0 with how bad this offense was. They scored that first drive because it was scripted, and they didn't throw the ball. They scored the second time because Love went baller. Let's talk about that move real quick. Let's get some positive vibes back in here. How about Love just absolutely dragging his nuts across that guy's forehead as he hurled at him and continued on for the touchdown? That was a spark that we needed. And then Leonard comes out and does Leonard things and just snuffs it out. And the last thing I wrote it down, I wanted to bring it up. So that play call that throws the interception at the end of the game. I'm all over the place here, but when it's 2nd and 1 and I'm playing Madden or NCAA, I'm running the play action deep shot every time. Because the worst that can happen is you don't get it. Usually. I'm not mad at Denbrock at all for this call. I am mad. I actually wrote down people to blame here for this loss.
Okay, let's go right into that.
All right, and it's actually, believe it or not, I don't blame Riley Leonard on this little blame sheet here. I blame I put 80% of the blame on Marcus Freeman for not pulling Leonard at halftime. I put 10% on Denbrock, 5% on the ND beat and writers, and 5% on the fans. So let me break down from the smallest percent and trickle on up to the bottom of the pyramid here. So the beat. For the second straight year, they have gaslit us all off season that we got a great ACC transfer quarterback coming in. Why? Because he beat Clemson, a bad Clemson, and put up 14 points against us, ran around a little bit, ran for 88 yards when we were at Duke, and then he could no longer run no more because Howard Cross ripped off his legs. His stat line that game, he threw for 134 yards with a touchdown, a pick, and a fumble while losing his ankles to lose the game. So they only scored 14 points that game, but yet you told us he was going to be the next coming. He was the dude. He was the best. He's going to lead us to the promised land. He led us to the hell that was happening on Saturday. I don't know what they were looking at when they were talking about his offensive abilities, but it was nothing but abysmal offense that got them, even kept Duke in the game last year. And all he did was bring that here. If we scored more than 21 points, we wouldn't even be talking about Riley Leonard, would we? The offense was under Jared Parker, so that's a whole different thing. Now, unless Tommy Rees still has some secret agents hanging around the offensive room where they're picking out the worst possible decisions you can make every week, which there might be, because it seems pretty Illuminati to me that we keep doing the same stupid shit we do, going after Sam Hartman. I get it. We just had to after the Buckner and Drew Pine year. I get it. But then the Sam Hartman experiment failed. And so you're like, all right, let's wash our hands of that. We got Angeli. We got Minchie. We got Carr. Let's maybe go get someone to maybe backfill. But let's not bring him in like he's going to be, unless he's actually really, really good. There are really good guys out there that enter the transfer portal that come from out places like North Dakota or Wyoming or something, not D1 schools. Definitely not in the ACC. When was the last good quarterback in the ACC murdered dogs? His name was Michael Vick. They don't have good quarterbacks. They just don't. Even the one that just the Duke's Mayo guy that just graduated, he's probably not going to be that great. He'll be very mid at best. Yeah. And that's the best that they've promoted in all this time. So I blame the beat for gaslighting us again. And not one of them raising their hand and saying, "Oh, we sure this is a good idea because It doesn't work every time we do this, and he kind of sucks. Like, not one guy, not once. So I blame the beat there.
Can I say, speaking of the beat, there's certain beat people who have portrayed themselves as like they're going to be the objective and the critical eye of Notre Dame, and they have been before. And I find they're the most biased people out there, and they were also some of the biggest proponents of Riley Leonard. So what you're saying there is really, really hitting home, because I expect at least some of our beat people to try to tell us the truth a little bit. And it definitely felt like we were misled. I remember watching some of his film, and I liked what I had seen, but there were going to be questions there about passing. We knew that going in. I just didn't expect it to be this poor. So I'm kind of, I don't know if I like agree with all these splits and apportioning percentage of blame, but I do like your points that you're making there. So how about the ND fan base? How are we on the hook for 5%?
For believing all that bullshit after you just got gaslit last year for the same thing. Every one of you took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Everyone. Like, I felt like I was the only one. Like, you know that meme where the one guy's saying, no, you're all wrong, and then he ends up being right? That was me. I was a little Timmy that could. Like, holy shit. I'm not always right, but not one person, like Jude a little bit. He was like, I'm not fully confident, which is just where I was. I wasn't confident. So the fans, for not wanting, like, hardly anyone was like, yeah, after the Hartman experiment failed, no one was like, well, did the logical deduction. It's very simple logic. Hartman is better than Riley Leonard. Hartman didn't do what we wanted him to do. So why in the blue hairy fuck would you think that this guy could do it when he's worse than Hartman? And we all knew that was indisputable going into the season, that Hartman was a better throwing quarterback. And that's really all you need in any of these games this year. You don't need anything else, really. So I blame the fans for that. Little 5% blame there. And I guess this, just so that way all your fans listening don't get mad at me. It's not your fault. You're lemmings. You're just following the person in front of you off the cliff. Just lead it to me to steer you back into the light. I will save you from jumping off the cliff. We already lost Steve tonight. We can't lose another lemming. All right. So that's how that's the fans' fault. Now I blame Denbrock. 10%. It should be more, but I think ultimately this is Marcus Freeman's third year, and he's got to be making these bigger decisions. But so, Denbrock, dude, this is your offense. You have the keys to the Jag, and you put training wheels on it with Riley Leonard. You are an offensive mastermind. You have eyes, and you should use them. You should have seen how bad this was going to be. I can't believe for a second that Leonard is making baller plays in practice and not making these astronomical mistakes in practice. Because I just watched him play 2 games and I didn't see him make more than maybe 1 or 2 good throws. And not one was downfield that was a good throw. So unless every other quarterback in the room is practicing with a blindfold on, there's no way Riley Leonard should have won this job. So I'm putting some 10% blame on Denbrock for that there. And also, a lot of the Leonard doubters, like, there was actually probably more Leonard doubters at the beginning when we had Gerard Parker at OC. But once we got Denbrock, like, oh, okay, no, he's our new OC. He's a baller. He's going to right the ship. Well, he took the damn ship, put Riley Leonard in charge to drive it. He crashed it into an iceberg. He backed up, and he kept crashing it back and forth in that iceberg over and over and over again against this NIU team. Like, after you heard all those boos at halftime and people saying how badly he sucked and it wasn't just his mom anymore, you needed to have the balls to bench him. He is absolute dog shit down a water slide. Or just stop throwing the ball, which, like, to your point, you can't abandon the run if that's all you can do is run. But at the same time, they're not respecting the pass at all, and why should they? They could have sent all 11 guys and gone cover 0, no one covering man, just go after Riley Leonard, and he wouldn't have made a pass. With 5 guys sending 11, he still probably would have just taken the sack or missed them. Like, I have no faith in him whatsoever. And
you know what? To your point, that is going to be a big test early on in Mike Denbrock's third tenure here at Notre Dame. He's going to have to find a way to work around Riley Leonard, whoever the quarterback is. And that's going to be up to his coaching chops and his scheming chops. We need to see him do more. Because like you said, there were more doubters when Jared Parker was the OC. And then you kind of assume Denbrock can come in, and Denbrock's a scheming guy, right? He's going to get people open. He's going to use the RPO game. That's what I expected more of in the A&M game. And frankly, it hasn't really helped Riley Leonard at all. And here on out for Coach Denbrock, he's going to have to find a way to maximize that, whether it's Leonard or not. If we go to another quarterback, you're going to have to get this offense going, because there's no way this offense should be worse than it was the last 2 years.
No, not at all.
It can't be, right? Like the O-line, okay, sure, it's not as good as last year's, but you're way better at wide receiver. You've got the back still, and in theory, you've got better quarterbacks. So come on, So that I'm with you there on Denbrock. Definitely deserves some of the blame, but he's going to have a chance to turn that around, and I think he can, because he's done it at other places. Surely it's not just a Notre Dame thing, but who knows? So I'll pitch it back to you, because I know you got more to get to.
Yeah, and he kind of left his boy Marcus out to dry there by not benching him. Like, when Marcus
isn't that on
hired,
Marcus a little bit too?
He's got 80% of the blame. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But Denbrock, like when Freeman got hired, he said, "I'm not going to touch the offense. It's all Tommy Rees." That was probably a mistake. So then he gets Jared Parker, and it's kind of the same thing. He's probably a little more hands-on with that, because like it was like trying to walk a toddler through like a maze. It was unbelievable. And now this year you finally got an OC that's experienced, loves Notre Dame, really good, really smart, proven. And I feel now this is where I don't know the answer, and whatever the answer is, that's a problem, because if it's Marcus Freeman being too hands-on still with Denbrock, and let's say Denbrock wanted to bench Leonard at halftime, and Marcus Freeman said no, that's a problem. Now, if Denbrock went to Marcus Freeman, was like, all right, we're gonna stick with him, and Marcus Freeman was like, okay, that's fine, that's a problem. Like, you needed to be one of those two needed to be able to see what was happening and say, all right, this is it. Like, I get it, Marcus. You're a defensive guy. You don't want to be on the offensive side too much, but it's not like you're the water boy. Like, now, Bobby, you've waterboarded for years. Didn't you occasionally watch the game? Like, that's not you, Marcus. You played football. You're not the water boy that was checking the pH levels for 30 years. Like, you know the game. You have clipped quarterbacks that sucked. So you know when quarterbacks should be pulled. You know when they're having a bad day, and that second guy comes in, you're like, oh, shit, we didn't prepare that much for this guy because we were ready to torch that other guy. Like, it's not like he doesn't. So that's why he's getting 80% of the blame, Marcus Freeman, because at the end of the day, dude, it's your team. It's year 3. How do you not just start bitch slapping people on the sidelines when they're playing this bad? I don't get it. I get it, but I don't get it. And I partly, and now this is why all that other blame accumulated from before with the beat and the fans. It's because if anyone was casting a shadow of a doubt on Riley Leonard in this offseason, if there was one beat writer saying, I don't know about this guy, maybe Marcus has it in the back of his head somewhere like, you know what? Maybe he's not the guy. But no one's told him he's not the guy. For the last 10 months, everyone said he is the guy. So if I'm Marcus and I don't know offense, or I'm not hands-on on my offense, and I don't want to touch the offense, I don't know if I'm going to go and yank that quarterback without any kind of thing going on in the back of my head saying like, hey, remember that guy that said this guy probably sucked? It looks like he might have been right. So maybe let's just give him a series break, give him a breather, have him sit him down, put someone else out there and just see what happens. Like, that's a very simple thing to do that they do it in every sport. When your star's not performing, you give him a break because he's not Michael Jordan and he's not Rocky. He's not going to get the shit kicked out of him and then all of a sudden come up and win in the 10th round with a knockout punch. He's going to throw a 50-yard pick that should have been a 50-yard pick, but it was really 35 because you're going to throw him by 15 yards. So that's why Marcus Freeman gets most of the blame, is because, dude, it's your team. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. It's your team, your decisions. You picked an offensive lineman that's a freshman over a super senior. You did that, so you can do it. I know you can. So that's my process of blame.
So let's put a pin in Marcus Freeman because we got to come back to that conversation. It's a conversation we're going to have. Before that, I just want to ask you some questions regarding other people who might deserve blame and what you think of it. So the first one I would put out there is just kind of the defense as a whole. We gave up nearly 200 rushing yards.
Yeah.
How many 2nd down and 10 runs did we give up for 8 or 9 yards?
Way too
Right?
many.
It was ridiculous. And I love Al Golden, but at what point don't you just let your superior secondary just win man on man and then fucking put people in the box, right?
You know
like
why?
You're getting run over. Tell me why.
Because that first play when that running back torched us after we got him down the 2-yard line, and that again, I don't have to look it up because I know the stat has to be correct. That's the only time in Notre Dame's history where we downed someone at the 2 on a kickoff and they scored in that drive, because I've never seen someone down to the 2 on a kickoff before. And we gave up a 98-yard touchdown drive because that one guy, and Jalen Snead, I think it was, who bumped him off his route, he played that route perfectly. It was just really shitty luck that the quarterback made a pretty bad throw and he happened to be there at that time. And our guys were all caught up on each other because it was man. And I think that at that moment, Don Brock or Freeman, one of them said, all right, let's just manage this game because our offense isn't moving the ball. And if we play man, you can get burned. And if you play zone or you play soft, you'll give up those second and like not 5 to 8 yard runs, but then you expect to stop them on 3rd down. But if you're playing man to man the whole time, you're more likely, all you got to do is have one guy's shoe come off or something. Like anything can go wrong when you're playing man cover 0. Which I mean, we should always be playing cover 2 with these guys and setting a 4-man rush against a team like that. It should be fairly straightforward. Like if you could just call that one play all game,
it
play
should
cover 2, man to man, 4-man rush.
You're right, and the way they played it is the way they should have been able to win that way, but they didn't. And it's just almost the lack of adjustment there that bothers me. But I'm not even going to blame just the coordinator. Like, where was the aggressiveness and the tenacity we saw against Texas A&M? Right, the linebackers were great against A&M. Like, I loved it. They were, with the exception of Jaden Osbury, who I thought had a really good game.
He did.
Everybody else kind of fucking sucked. Like, it was not good. I love Jalen Snead. I love what he can bring, but he got burned a few too many times this game. What about the defensive line, right? We got 2 of preseason All-Americans, Howard Cross and Riley Mills, in the middle, and they're getting chewed up. Like, what went wrong with the defense, too? That's why I can't blame entirely the offense. I mean, defense, you put up 16 points. You should still win the game. Don't get me wrong. But you shouldn't even given up 6 points to Northern Illinois. It was shit from the very beginning to the end. The special teams was shit as well. We had the first drive, it was down at the 2. That was amazing, but that was more of a stroke of luck than anything. We had 2 field goals blocked. That nobody's talking enough about that. How does that happen? What is going on the snap? Is it the kick? What is happening? I have high hope for James Rendell and P-Wagon. Don't kill me, but I did not like the punting yesterday, or 2 days ago now. I'm not a fan of the way we played top to bottom, and I just don't get how it's the same team that went down to College Station and kind of kicked A&M's ass.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, if we had a quarterback at A&M, we're winning by 30, and we're laughing at how good we are. But special teams, that first kick, it looked like they just blew us off the ball and just pushed us back in our face and just got through, which is no one should ever do that against Notre Dame. Not Bama, not nobody, let alone Northern Illinois. Like, bro, come on, push back. Kick wasn't that low. It was just no push. No, like they let them just run up on them like a bitch and just held their pockets and let them slap their balls right down. That was the first one. The second one was a 62-yarder. I mean, it was desperation time, and I don't hate that call here to go for that long-ass field goal because obviously he believes he can make it. But I know for a fact that Riley Leonard wasn't throwing that ball 62 yards. So that gave us our best chance to win. Jalen Snead, he had a couple plays where one in particular where he went to go and try and he did the right thing. He made the right read. He stayed home. It was a rolling left run, and he just stood there flat-footed. And then the guy just ran around to the outside because he didn't get outside contained. And he's also blocking Aiden Schuler. Like, Aiden Schuler ran over him trying to make the play because he was moving so slow to get to the outside when he should have just crashed. I hate how sometimes, and I don't know if that's a now in this day and age coaching thing, but I see it a lot more now than I did when I was like playing and when I was in college myself, like 10 years ago, where if you saw a chance to kill someone, you took it every single time. Like, didn't like form went out the window. You got a chance for legal murder on the field, you're taking it, and I just don't see that anymore. I think they're playing a little too safe in these games like this, like trying to worry about form and technique and what like it's all important and shit, but sometimes you just gotta be a baller and kill someone, dude. And you didn't do that. Same thing with the defensive line. I don't know what the hell was going on with some of the things that I saw. Like there was one where I think it was Riley Mills went right up the middle, unblocked, and just waved at the quarterback as he started to roll away from him. Like it was, he didn't break down enough to get to him. Like so, it was that's the opposite of what I was just talking about too. So I guess there is a fine line in between. But damn it, you're playing for Notre Dame. You gotta know that line. I'm a fat ass watching you from the couch yelling at you. You gotta know what you're doing. So, if I know what you should be doing, you should know what you should be doing.
Right. Another thing with the offense, I know we're just jumping all over the place, but there's so much shit to follow out. We had made a tweet during the first drive that we're running the quarterback too much, and the idea there is you don't need to put Riley in this much risk against Northern Illinois. However, when you are in a dogfight throughout the game, you go back to that. Like that's the bread and butter of this offense, and the idea is you shouldn't have to do that until Florida State, maybe Louisville, and USC. But the fact of the matter is we were in a tight game. You need to go back to it, and we didn't really see Denbrock go back to that. Or if they tried to, they just didn't succeed in it, right? Do you think Leonard was banged up a little bit? Do you think maybe Mike Denbrock, I can't imagine he just got overwhelmed. Like, what am I missing?
He got banged up at the end of the first
did everybody just fuck up?
I remember Leonard went down at the end of the first half because I don't root for people on my team to get injured, but I was definitely rooting for him to stay down. Like, I did not want Leonard getting up in that moment. And I know I wasn't alone in that thought. I think we were all thinking it because my grandfather, who's a pacifist, also said the same thing. So he was definitely banged up a little bit, but that is no excuse because that's why we have you. Is because if we're going to if we want a running quarterback, we want to run the Navy offense, fine. Don't be afraid to run them. Like, if that's the offense we're going to have, I hate you, but you got to run them. And it's like you said, since we got away from it, I don't think even if we didn't get away from it, they knew what we were doing. That coach and staff did their homework. They came in prepared. NIU. They didn't need counter stallions to know what play we were running. We were running the same thing every time because you couldn't do anything else. Like Denbrock's playbook was absolutely handcuffed by his inability to find all these guys wide open all over the field and just get him the ball. Like it really wasn't hard. There was a girl that I knew at that game, and she said, I'm seeing these people wide open. I don't know how he's not. Like, I get it. Stan's different view, but she's not a D1 quarterback at Notre Dame.
Well, it seems to be an issue we keep having, right? Because Hartman had those issues as well. Ian Books had those issues, and he was our most successful quarterback since probably Deshaun Kaiser, maybe Brady Quinn. Okay, we got to talk about Marcus Freeman, man. There's a lot of opinions out there. Should he be fired? Should he be on the hot seat? Should he be fined? What's your view on this? Is that a fireable offense? Do you still back him? Because going into this, man, we all believed. We saw the A&M game. We were like, he's got it. He's in his third year. The culture is there. You know, people were clowning that and being like, what culture? It's like, well, you could see the culture he's been building for 3 years, right? There's a closeness. There's the bonds are closer. They're playing for each other. They're challenging everything. People are in love with Notre Dame again. Alum are coming to the fucking games again. I love the attitude and the aura change around Notre Dame. But fuck, how could you justify this in year 3? I could justify it in year 1. How can you justify it in year 3? What's your take on it? Because I'm still on the fence.
That's why it's even more painful, is because this is probably, in my lifetime, the best Notre Dame team on paper I've ever seen, except for one position. And some injuries on the defensive line. We lost Gabriel Rubio, but Jagasaw. But if they were both there, and we had literally anyone else at quarterback, we're not just national championship contenders. I think we're national championship favorites. Like, this is the best team I've seen on the field all at once in my entire life. I can't think of another like we've always had like a Monte Teo or who was the quarterback that 2008 Jimmy Clausen, or we've had the talent there, but never all of. And now it's all there at once. Like, yeah, we could improve the wide receiver room a little bit, but do we? Like, Bo Collins just showed at A&M, he's a baller. As we know, Greathouse is a baller. We know Faison is an absolute jet. We know Love and Price can do it. And this offensive line, even though they're all freshmen, they're pretty damn good. Like, I've all my doubts about the O-line have been pretty much erased. Then you look at the defensive side of the ball, best secondary I've ever seen ever on a college team. Like it the people that are out there between. Also, Christian Gray got burned a few times, man. Not burned, but like just beat, I guess. Yeah, he got beat a few times, but I was like, he got beat twice, I think, that game. It's still not bad. You got Watts, Schuler, Benjamin Soren, Christian Gray. You got Hurd as the other guy. It's just all the linebackers, best linebacker core group I've seen. Like, it's all there. All the pieces are there. We got a good kicker. We got a good punter. I know you're not a fan of his shit, but I was. I liked some of those short punts. That lunge line drive he did to start the game, which he shouldn't have punted once that game, but I think he did the same thing against A&M, and I think he tried to do the same thing here. And who's our special teams coach? He was like, can you fucking stop doing that? But I think what he was trying to do is he's trying to hit someone in the back on the other team and get a live ball, get us the ball back. Because it was pretty damn close both times. First kick against A&M and first kick here. That low liner that just kind of helicopters. If that hits someone in the back, we're getting that ball back. And I think that's what he was trying to do. If he doesn't, it's just going to skip for another 20 yards, and it's still a good kick. So I know he can boom it, but I like it. I think it's cheeky. So as far as Marcus Freeman, he's put this team together. That's where I was going with this. He's put this team, the best team I've seen together. He's built this team. He's still a new coach, and that's no longer an excuse. But I don't know. Like, remember Pete Carroll? He was a great preparation coach, awful in-game coach. He was a great tactician off the field. Once you got on the field, you could if you could trick him once or twice, he would fall apart. He's kind of like that, except I don't see him falling apart. I see him just not taking shit over the way he should be, especially in the situations where you see someone that needs to be benched. And then not only do you bench him, you come back and defend them because they're your boy. Like, I don't know, I'll be damned. Like, I think $1.2 million, I think you could wash it down the drain versus let's make a natty title run. Like that first college football playoff game, how much do you think you're going to make? Probably more than $1.2 million. So I don't want to put Freeman on the hot seat, but I swear to God, if Leonard comes out of that locker room against Purdue and he gets that first snap on that field, I can't defend Marcus anymore. Like, it's inexcusable to not think that that's okay anymore. And that's where my line's drawn. Like, I'll still defend him if he does the right things. I'll defend him till it dies. But if he starts Leonard, I kind of get why you didn't bench him at halftime, but you still should have. If you start him after looking at all that tape and all the comments and in the fucking stat line alone, yeah, I can't help you, dude. You're on the hot seat, and I wish you the best of luck. I love you. I don't want you to go. I want you to stay Notre Dame head coach forever. But if you start Ryan Leonard and we lose that fucking game against Purdue, I don't see how he makes it at the end of the year, because then we're 1-2 and we ain't making that playoff.
Yeah, I think that's the key right there is the playoff. You know, a lot of people had asked me after the game, like, what happened? Like, how did you guys lose this one? And the truth is, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the fuck went wrong. I don't know if anybody at Notre Dame knows right now. And that's scary because I think they did everything right. I think they prepped right. I think they had a decent game plan. I think they just shat the fucking bed. And I don't have an answer, so it's hard for me to really say whether Marcus Freeman needs to stay or go. Now, I think going into this season, we had expectations to be a playoff team. And a playoff team, 10-2, despite what some people say I think would have been good enough to get in this year, Not anymore. Not losing to Northern Illinois. That's a 10-2 with a loss to, Louisville and Texas A&M.
Mhm.
So you have to kind of go 11-1. If you can get in 10-2, fine. But I'm looking at this as that was our expectation for you this year. You're going to have to make it. So I'm giving him until the end of the season to make the playoffs. He's got to make the playoffs. Then we'll readjust because, if he goes 11-1 or it's a close 10-2 and they're on the borderline and they get left out or there's injuries, we can have that conversation. But I think you have to make the playoff, all things being considered, which means you have to run the table. Am I crazy for that, or is that kind of a fair?
No, you got to run the table, or
leash.
You got to have a whole hell of a lot of help because let's be honest, with all the new conference realignment, these conferences are going to cannibalize themselves in some instances. So I'm not too worried about with a 1 loss. I'm not too worried with 2 losses. I'm a little more worried. You still could, but you would need a lot of help. 3 losses, you're fucked. So I'm kind of with you. Get us in the playoff. And you know what? And if you do it on the back of Riley Leonard, and all of a sudden he comes out this week, and the Angels in the outfield have come down and helped him. You doing the little angel wing thing, and Mel Clark himself comes down as a cancer angel and takes over his body so he can throw the ball. So be it. Like I was fucking begging Riley Leonard to prove me wrong on that last drive. And he fucking proved me so right. I was so fucking pissed. But if for some fucking miracle reason he is actually good and he's just been hustling me this whole time, good. Fucking take me to the playoff. I'll be the first one that fucking gives you an NIL bonus, motherfucker. Piece of shit, fucking trash, motherfucker. Making me fucking doubt you all this time. But if you could do it, you son of a bitch. I'm so happy for you. I'm on your side, but you can't do it. So that's where I'm at. Marcus, you gotta get us to the playoffs this year. I had a feeling we'd have a bad game, like every team does. I didn't think it'd ever be that bad.
It was bad, man. It was bad. It's embarrassing. And us, the people who keep this fucking sport alive, the fans, the people who pay for tickets and merchandise, none of it being reasonably priced, by the way, the people that watch the games, we're the lifeblood of this. And we're the ones, especially at Notre Dame, who look like an ass. We look like fucking jackasses for talking about how this was the best team we had seen in the longest time and how Marcus Freeman's the guy. And then we all did a victory dance after we beat A&M and we put up that. You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing the fucking fans. That's where I draw the line, man. Like, we take enough shit as Notre Dame fans for existing. Yeah, you got to fucking justify these results. I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of it. And look, it's a tough game we've got coming up. We got to go to Purdue. One, Purdue has historically played us tight. That's always a nerve-wracking tight game. It's at Purdue. It's not like a nice home game, although, fuck, at this point, we might be better off on the road. And Hudson Card, the guy that Notre Dame fans had kind of wanted to be their transfer quarterback before Riley Leonard got into the picture, is the quarterback at Purdue. Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting game.
He looked good last week, too. I watched that highlight film before here so I can pretend like I was prepared. I'm not prepared at all to talk about this Purdue game, but he looked good in it. He was hitting some throws that if we could have just taken his arm and put it on anyone's body on this team, we would have won that game. But it wasn't like he was so that Purdue highlight reel, if we want to skip ahead to it, he looked all right. He definitely got some pressure from a team that should never get pressure on you. It was like I forget who they played. It was like Shallassie, Indiana, who gives a shit university, and they were beating them up a little bit. So they did lose by like 50 points, but so the quarterback making the throws doesn't scare me as much because I know our secondary is good and we're gonna lock down that front four because I don't think Al Washington's gonna let that shit slide again. So I'm not too worried as far as their offense goes. I am worried as far as our offense goes because we could be running out there against nobody. They could put no one out in that field. I still don't know if we score a touchdown with Riley Leonard throwing the ball. So, and that was something Marcus said in the press conference today, where he said, "Our boys got to make contested catches." I'm like, bro, they're contesting the quarterback and nothing else. They're a wide fucking open. What do you mean contested catches? Like the only thing they're fighting is trying to like acrobatically dive backwards and catch these fucking duds. We should need to tell, and if Riley does go out there, someone's got to tell him, hey, yo, listen, try and throw it to the other team. Maybe you'll hit our guys instead.
Yeah. Well, before we, kind of do whatever Purdue preview we have with picks, let's just talk briefly. College football at large, it was a weird week. It wasn't just us who struggled. Alabama struggled with USF, but they won. Penn State struggled against Bowling Green, but they won. LSU struggled to Nicholls State, but they won. It was a weird week. Tulane got screwed. They should have beat K-State. Oklahoma State was another team that got lucky. But for the most part, nothing too crazy happened. Iowa State upset Iowa. Michigan lost to Texas. There we go.
Yes,
there's some exciting. Let's talk about that briefly, Tim. What did you watch that game?
Oh yeah, in that moment I was like, nothing could ruin this day for me.
Oh, little did you know.
No.
Last week, I took Michigan to cover just because I thought they might put up a better fight, but I said also on the show that could get ugly, and it could get ugly quickly, and that's exactly what happened. Michigan's offense doesn't have it at all this year. Texas is a great team. I'm not going to punish Michigan too much for that, but look, their offense doesn't have the juice, and their defense isn't as good as it was, and Texas is a fucking good team. So
yeah,
that got ugly, and thank God it got ugly because it's the only saving grace from our miserable Saturday.
Can you imagine how much worse Saturday would have been if Michigan somehow won that game? And then we lost to. I think that's why those Michigan fans are quiet, because they're all sad too.
Yeah, well, let's hope they stay that way. Week 3 we're entering now. Not a great week for matchups. I was looking through them, but as our guest on the show, Tim, we're gonna get you to pick some of these games with us. So I'll read out the games and the lines, and you let us know what you think. So. First game, I think it's a Friday night. Arizona is going to Kansas State. K-State is favored by 7 points. That's a Big 12 matchup now because Arizona is moved from the Pac-12, and both of those teams are ranked. Do you have any kind of strong opinions on this one?
Yeah, I don't think that Arizona can handle the heat in Kansas State, and by heat I mean humidity. I also think that Kansas State's pretty good this year, and Arizona is still just Arizona. So I would take Kansas State to cover that spread.
Yeah, I watched the Tulane K-State game, and I wasn't impressed with K-State. So I was like, maybe Arizona. But then I looked at how Arizona fared, and they barely beat a team I had never heard of. And they struggled to really put away New Mexico the week before. So I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take K-State, and I'll take Arizona to cover, but I think K-State will win. Yeah, nothing super exciting there. Second one, LSU is 7-point favorites at South Carolina.
You can't lose to USC twice in a row.
That would be pretty funny.
So I think it's a revenge game, and by the way, I hit every single pick in my parlay last weekend except for LSU to cover against USC. So thank you, Brian Kelly, for once again fucking me out of good money. So I'm gonna. He always like whenever he loses a game like that, he always comes back and does what they're supposed to do. So I think LSU is gonna cover. South Carolina, they did not look good last week. That they were struggling against, who was it? I was watching that game, but I wasn't really watching that game. I was more excited about our game coming up. But they didn't look great. So yeah, give me LSU to cover that one.
Yeah, that's good. West Virginia at Pitt, backyard brawl, one of the more underrated rivalry games. Oh, right. I'm taking LSU as well.
All right, there we go.
Yeah. So we got the backyard brawl. West Virginia's 2.5-point favorites, despite being the road team. Pitt looked horrible against Cincinnati, but then came back to win it. West Virginia got blown out by Penn State, obviously the week before. I feel like this is a pick 'em. How are you leaning?
Same, except with one twist.
Yeah.
Penn State and West Virginia, they do the same thing to me. Like when I want one of them to win, they will lose, and when I want one of them to lose, they will win. And I want West Virginia to beat Pitt, so I think Pitt is gonna win.
Fair. See, I'm looking at the picks because Steve also picked them to win, and I don't want to be agreeing with you guys on everything. But a 2.5 point underdog at home in a rivalry game where I wouldn't say Pitt looked horrible and West Virginia's looked great. I think both of them have looked kind of mid so far this season. So I'll take Pitt. I'll agree with you. I'm going to take Pitt to cover and to win outright there.
And by the way, when the hell is West Virginia going to remember how to play football? Like, it's been like 20 years. Like, come on, guys. Get your shit together.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a program that has, I think, potential if they're good, right? Because they got a pretty rabid fan base.
They got rabid people in the fan base. All those West Virginians.
You got rabies in the fan base.
Sorry, whoever I offended. I lived in West Virginia for a year. I'm allowed to say it now.
You lived in West Virginia, Tim, so you're allowed to comment. I think
I had a rabid neighbor.
Tell us more, actually. Tell us more.
His name was Ray, and he was a meth head. And when I put my house up on the market, he stole my entire air conditioning unit off the back of my house and sold it for drugs. And there was a moat between us. There's a whole ass river between our two houses. He would swim across and try and steal my shit. He was like 500 yards away. Rabbits.
Wow, 500 yards away. There's a joke to be made there about Riley Leonard's throwing ability in 500 yards.
It would have taken him all year to make it that far. It'd take him 20, 50 to 500 throws.
Notre Dame could not drive for 500 yards if their program history depended on it. Okay. Texas A&M 4-point favorites at Florida in the swamp. Who do you like there? That's a tough one.
You know what? Knowing everything I know now about us versus Texas A&M and how we should have just blown them out of the water, we didn't. It makes me think that Florida is actually probably going to win this game because Texas A&M's offense didn't really move the ball, and their defense probably shouldn't have been able to stop us at all. So Florida actually has someone that can throw. I don't know how well, but it is in the swamp, and so give me Florida.
Yeah. I don't like this game either. It's a tough one because everything you said there is true about Notre Dame and A&M, but Florida's also having a rough year. But it's at home. You know what, Tim? You've won me. I'm going to take Florida. I'm going to take Florida to cover. I think you're spot on there. I don't want that to be true, but I don't know how good A&M is now. And Florida at home, it's a different animal. I know Miami went there and beat the piss out of them, but Miami's a good team this year.
I hate.
You know what? No. I got to flip again. I'm sorry. I'm taking Texas A&M. I'm taking them to cover too. I remember that Florida Miami game. I can't imagine Texas A&M is worse than Florida.
No, offensively for sure. I guarantee you they are. Or I'm sorry, offensively Texas A&M is nowhere near Miami. Like Miami's offense is. They got someone that could. I wish he was on our fucking team. They got someone that could throw the ball.
Yep. Cam Ward probably wins a Heisman with Mike Denbrock. Okay. Last one. We've got. Is this like the Apple rivalry or something? It's Washington State and Washington. This is not in conference because for those of you at home who haven't been keeping up with realignment, Washington State and Oregon State got left behind. Washington and Oregon are in the Big Ten. And they are playing an early season game against each other. I think it's a neutral site, maybe. I'm trying to pull this up here, but tell me what you think of that game. If you have any strong thoughts, and hopefully I'll have more information in a second.
Yeah, what in the wazoo is a wazoo, bro? Like, I think that both these teams have a W as their big old first letter. But one of them is about to take an L. And I'm telling you what, Daddy, when he left to go get smokes and never came back, he's coming back to whoop your ass, Wazoo. Like, Washington State is going to take them to the woodshed and remind them who their daddy is. I don't have this one close. I got Washington to cover big.
Fair. So this game is in Seattle. Washington has beaten up on Eastern Michigan and Weber State. And Washington State has narrowly beat Texas Tech, although they beat them by a fair amount, 37-16, and they hammered Portland State. I'm gonna take against you here. I'm gonna take Washington State because They just got left by their rival. They just said, "Fuck you guys, we're off. Peace out." And we might play you again, we might not. I think Washington State's got more on the line for this one, and I like them to pull off the upset. I think they'll go into Huskies and show them who's daddy. But 4-point favorites for a reason, Tim. You could very well be right about that. But I think I got to go against you on one of these games, so I'm taking Wazoo.
Hey.
What are they called again? The Snails or something?
The Cougars.
Their logo looks kind of like a snail because it's like a W on top of like a C, and it kind of just looks like a snail to me. Like their logo looks like a screaming snail,
like a snake or like a retarded camel or something.
All right, so Purdue, we wrapped up week 2 here. I don't feel good about this, man. I don't feel good about this game.
Well, let me start off by saying I was so excited about this game up until 6:30 on Saturday because I'll be going there with Dr. Abby, and we'll be tailgating for that game and all sitting together, as well as my old roommate. He's a big Purdue fan, so he's flying in for the game. We're going to watch that together too and tailgate. And I used to love making fun of him because it was always an easy win. And now I am also nervous. Like, if this could really bite me in the ass if he flies all the way out here to just talk shit to me. I don't want that. I'm actually petrified of that. And Marcus, please don't let him do that to me. Protect me, Daddy Marcus. So, what do you think is going to happen?
I think we'll win. I think it'll be ugly, but I think they'll respond better. I think they'll game plan better. Like I think the coaching staff knows now what Riley Leonard is, and I think they'll start with him and they'll have a short leash, and they'll either really tailor it to him in a way that doesn't jeopardize the team. Maybe that means more running. Maybe that means more RPOs. But I think they'll get that together, and I think the defense should be fine. I mean, but then again, Hudson Card is a great quarterback, and he's having a great game last week. So I think he was like 24 for 25 passing, like something ridiculous. I mean, how nice would it be to have a quarterback that could complete at least 60% of passes? But alas, I think it will be a tough game. I don't think it's going to be by any means a blowout. I could see that happening, but I don't think that's going to be the case. And if it happens, I think it happens late. I could see Purdue winning because, look, we just lost to Northern Illinois. But I'd like to think that talent and the smart coaching that we have at Notre Dame, between the 2 highest paid coordinators in college football, should be able to get this one done. But I don't feel good about it.
Yeah, I am right there with you on all of that. The one, 4 days ago, actually about 3 months ago, I thought this would be an easy walk in the park. Like, I kept forgetting we played Purdue. So I don't even know how to think about that game. Well, now I'm thinking about that game, and I am definitely nervous. But like I said, silver lining of how bad Leonard looked last weekend means that his leash he should even have a leash. He's being held by the collar. Like, that's how short this leash should be this week. So if we have 2 bad offensive series to start the game, I hope we don't. I hope we drive the field twice and go up 14-0. Go for 2 when he said, make it 16-0. Just if we don't, I know that reinforcements are on the way out for that 3rd series, and that will make me feel better. Just knowing that in my heart. So I think it's the first quarter is gonna be a win-win for us. We're either gonna win on the scoreboard or we're gonna win because Leonard is finally on the bench. Unless, and I hope this is his play, because Marcus is a smart dude. And he's a tactician. And so what I think he might be doing is saying, we're going to stick with Leonard, and they don't plan on sticking with him at all. Like, they just come out of the gate with Angeli or Minchie or Carr at quarterback, and just that way they're game planning the whole week for something that's not even going to happen. That would be the gamer thing to do. That being said, I don't think he does it. I'm just hoping, I'm praying it's what he's doing. but I don't think he's going to. It would be actually really funny and awesome if he did do that, but I don't think he does.
All right, gun to your head, Tim.
as far as the game goes, I think we have them on every spot. Like I told you before, this is the best team I've seen us put together in a long time. So even with a bad quarterback, at least now we know we have a bad quarterback. So I think we still pull this out. I don't know if we cover 10, if we leave them in there the whole time. If we leave him in there the whole time, that means it's going to be a nail biter. And that means he could lose the game at any second. So I don't think we cover. I didn't pick us to cover last week either. And I did pick us to beat A&M because I don't see it. Like, we were so prepared for that game. I think we're going to be prepared for this game too. I just don't think we get to 10.5, which is, I can't believe Vegas thinks we're going to score 10.5 with this quarterback. That's also crazy. But yeah, also fuck that drum.
Okay. Gun to your head. Do we see a quarterback who isn't Riley Leonard at any point on Saturday?
Oh yeah, yes, for sure.
How confident are you that we're going to see one? And is it going to be in a good situation or like a mop-up duty? Or do you think Leonard is going to be pulled in this game?
Your week one mailbag, I asked, when is this going to happen? It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when for me this whole time. And this is it. This is when. So it's not going to be a good pull. It's probably going to be all right, enough of this pull, and then we just sail.
Yep. Okay, well, let's get into score predictions. We've previewed them as much as we can because there's no way I was doing homework on Purdue after losing that game. I just wanted to swear about our team. So Steve and I do this. I've got a number right here. I'll let you go first because you're our esteemed guest this week, and thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave you alone here. Just have Steve yell for 5 minutes and then you cry about how he yelled at you. Let's see, score predictions. Shit me. It could be, we could score anywhere between 2 and 50 points. Like, it could be literally anywhere in there. So that being said, I think we make a quarterback change in the first half. And then we put up probably around 35 total. If we make a quarterback change in the first half, we'll probably put up around 35 total. If for whatever reason we don't, we're probably going to put up like 20-ish again. So I have faith that this coaching staff will do the right thing. Give me Notre Dame 35, Purdue like -7. We'll go with 14.
14. So you do have Notre Dame to cover, but that's because you got hope on the coaching staff.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I also have Notre Dame to cover, although I wouldn't bet it. I'm taking Notre Dame 24, Purdue 13. I think we barely cover, but I think this defense, you're going to have to be able to score at least 16 points to beat Notre Dame this year. And I don't know if Purdue will get it done, despite how good Card is. And I could be wrong about that. I could see Purdue scoring here. Don't hold me to that. I think Card could have a great game. But I think the defense will come through, and then I think the offense will squeeze one out. I'm not confident they'll make the QB change, but if they do, I think they'll still win. I think they'll win either way. I hope to God I'm right. Because if I'm not, we're going to be here next week probably demanding Marcus Freeman's head, and probably... in Steve's case, he might be dead. Like, Steve just might die next week if we lose to Purdue.
Watching, he's golfing.
Well, but he'll look at the score. So
he might snap his driver.
Oh, his free driver courtesy of, I think it was TaylorMade. Were you there for that?
No, I was not.
Steve had made had a viral tweet about baby presents, like baby shower presents, like what to put on your list, and he put it was either a driver or like a 3-wood from TaylorMade, and it blew up, and they actually gifted him a free club. Awesome. Because I know. So
someone should have asked
maybe
me
he'll
what I
snap
wanted for my birthday. I would have said Riley Leonard to get benched, and we wouldn't be here today. That could have gone viral.
Well, let's hope they listen to you.
Yeah.
Tim, thanks for coming on. Do you have any last words or anything to plug before we wrap this up?
Yeah. three things. One, I wanted to let you know that I did end up buying that JBL party box, so we'll have that to look forward to when we tailgate together. But I was at my cousin's wedding. P-Wagon would be proud of me. I went to that instead of the Texas A&M game that I did have tickets for, and hotels and planes and everything. I canceled all of it for my cousin's wedding. And we just watched the game together at a casino. Well, I wheeled that bitch right into the restaurant where we were watching it, and I played the fight song after every time we scored, and it felt great because there was an A&M fan that was getting pissed the whole time. So that was fun. My birthday was on Wednesday, and it's been an absolute fun week until Saturday, and then it's no longer, everything that happened is no longer fun. Like, my mom was like, "I'm glad you don't appreciate that we spent time with him." Like, I don't anymore. Nothing can bring me joy. I'm just an empty man. But the most important thing is we're bouncing back this week. I'm driving down to Purdue, meeting with Abby. We'll be tailgating in the driving range. So it is just this big ass patch of grass. I really hope it doesn't rain all week and just make it muddy as shit, because that would suck. But I'll be making some sexy Mexi pulled pork sliders, some like jambalaya beans that are really good. Anyone that wants to come over, hit me up on Twitter, Tim3773. I have a big ass flag sticking up, and I'll post a picture and shit. Maybe drop a geo spot or something. Or just follow your nose, because that's just gonna be so good. I'm thinking about making two shoulders. I made two shoulders for I think it was the USC game. You were at that one? Yeah, the USC game. I made the same stuff. And it ended up being
It's the best food.
Yeah, and it was way too much, and I was panicking trying to get people to come eat it. So I think I'm gonna do just one this time. And if I run out, fuck all y'all. It's my food. So yeah, that's my shout out. Let's go Irish. Fuck that drum.
I love it. Tim and I will be at the Florida State game this year, tailgating as well. So, keep that in mind. Reach out. We'd be glad to see you. Tim, thanks again for being with me in this very dire time. Well, at least we can all support each other. And then hopefully, thanks courtesy of Jude and 1 Foot Down, so we don't get demonetized for that. And let's just go kick Purdue's ass. Hopefully we get it done. I have little hope, but I think this team can run the table if things go right. And hopefully that's the case. So fingers crossed on that. I want Marcus Freeman to be the guy, but the leash is short, as it is for the quarterback. So thank you guys for listening this week.
Wait, one last question.
Dylan? Yep.
I didn't think about this till just now, so I'm going to hold you another minute. If it is Marcus's last year, who are we going for?
That's a great question. I forgot to mention that as well. Urban Meyer, clearly. That was kind of a joke because that's been the name people have used forever. Look, I'd love to get Nick Saban out of retirement. That's not going to happen either. I just think Notre Dame should get whatever coach they want because it's Notre Dame. I don't have a short list of people right now. I know Leopold from Kansas is good, but he's also 60. Jeff Brom, I think, is doing a decent job at Louisville, but I don't know. Notre Dame's got to go out and get a big name if they were to. Do you have a name in mind? Because I feel like you've been thinking about a lot.
No, I swear to God, I haven't thought about it at all until I just thought of it just now. Because I really think Marcus Freeman is our guy. Like, I really do believe he's our boy. He's just gotta start swinging his dick around and saying, no, we're not starting this quarterback or whatever. But if we did have to replace him with someone, there's really only one option, and his name is Pope Francis. So.
Yeah. Oh, what a week. Thank you for listening through all this explicit rants this week. I'm sure a lot of you at home are feeling the same way. Let us know at Horseman Pod. Shoot us a DM, shoot us a tweet, give us a follow, rate, 5-star review. We appreciate it. I'm Dylan, joined by Tim today. So again, thank you, Tim, for joining us, and we will see you next week. Go Irish.